Hey guys. All right, I'm going to film this video real quick. First, I want to say thank you so much for the encouragement on the vlog. It's been amazing. It's wonderful when we have enough courage to share our stories that show the goodness of God in the everyday, because He's there. So I want to continue on with that theme, and I want to tell y'all a story from about 7 years ago. I was in the hospital at the time. For my second stay in the hospital, I had pneumonia, and I'd been sick for maybe 8 or 10 weeks. And when I mean sick, I mean like all self-reliance is gone. Like I had to depend on my husband and my family and my friends to get me through this time. I was on oxygen. Like I said, I had had a couple rounds of antibiotics, and I had some allergic reactions to those that were real scary for me and my family. And I couldn't pick up my baby. I couldn't really have a long conversation. I didn't have enough air for that. I couldn't cook dinner. I couldn't do any of the normal things that I had done. And this had been going on for about 2.5 months since I'm back in the hospital. And I had been reading in my Bible that night, because that was really about all I could do. And I was reading in the Psalms, and I have my Bible here. I don't really know what drew me to the Psalms, but I read a lot of the Psalms during this season. Y'all ever have a season of your life that the Lord uses to teach you a lot of lessons? Well, this was mine. He taught me many lessons from this season of my life. And so a lot of my stories that I share will probably be from this period. Anyway, I had been reading in Psalm 27, and the whole thing is good. I love David. I love how real he is with the Lord, and how he just prays his heart to God. And I love that he never tries to protect God as if God's not big enough to handle what's going on in our hearts. And he was just always enemies pursuing him, and he needed comfort, and he needed God to show up in the moment, and he wasn't afraid to ask for it and to cry out. So anyway, I got to the end, and I want to read 13 and 14 to y'all. It says, "I am still confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord, be strong, take heart, and wait for the Lord." So I had read that, and I closed up my Bible, and I put it down, and I went to sleep for the night. And I woke up about 2. My husband was there, and I sat straight up in my hospital bed, and I was just heaving. I was just gasping for air. I just had felt like I was drowning. Basically, I couldn't lay down flat, and just had so much going on with my lungs. And it was about an hour before I could have my next nebulizer treatment. And I had had some medications through that had made me sick, and they finally found one that worked, but I couldn't have it for an hour. And girls, I'm just going to be honest with you. I just reached my breaking point. I just remember sitting up and thinking, I can't do this, God. This has been 2.5 months. I can't be with my kids. I can't do the things that I do. I can't even take a deep breath. Like, Lord, I've reached my capacity. I can't do it. And I just had a real moment with the Lord. And it was probably the first time as a believer, honestly, I'm probably about a 2-year-old believer at this time, that I had really just got real with God and just prayed what was on my heart. I mean, He knows what's on our hearts and our minds anyway, but just to lay it out there. And I did. I sat up and I pieced it together as well as I could with my lack of oxygen, and I just said, "Lord, wait on you? I've been waiting on you. I've been waiting on you for 2 months. I've been waiting on you to heal me. I've been waiting to see your goodness." This is how I felt. Was it necessarily the truth of my reality? No. Was it necessarily the truth of my circumstance? No. I had seen, His goodness had been there. It had been there in the care of my husband and the care of my friends and in support that had come from my group. But girls, I was not seeing that. This is where I was with Him. And I just said, I live here. I live here. And I remember doing this. I live right here. I need to feel you now in this moment. I need to feel your comfort. I need to know that you're here. My husband is standing beside me, and bless his heart, he can't do anything to help me breathe. He can just stand there and pray, and he did. But out of the corner of my eyes, I'm saying this, I see this figure, and I know it's a woman. She's coming into the room. I know now it was a respiratory therapist, and she came in and she sat down on the side of my bed, and she put her hand right here on my shoulder. And I'm not even playing with y'all. Please, I'm not playing with y'all. As soon as that hand just sat down right here, I felt calmer. I took a little deeper breath. I was still struggling, but it was just like that touch, that physical touch, just took every bit of crazy and big out of that moment and settled it down. The weight of that reality sunk in, and I had a little bit of peace. And I was still praying, and she began to affirm when I was praying. I was saying, Lord, I need to feel you. I need to know that you're helping me, God. And she said, yes, Lord. And I looked over at her, and she looked at me, and she said, Holly, call me by name. I have this medication, and I want to give it to you. And I instantly, no, I'm not taking any more medicine. I had horrible experiences. And she just looks at me with this look, and she said, I am here to help you. This will be for your good. And it was like, okay. And she gave me this medicine. She gave it through the nebulizer. It took about 3 minutes. And she sat right there on the edge of my bed, right there on the edge of this huge thing with me. She kept that hand right there on my shoulder. She didn't say a word. She just sat there. And I would just breathe in and out for 3 minutes. And I calmed down. And it was just like the steadiness in her presence just gave me this peace. And afterwards, I handed her the nebulizer back, and she said, okay, now honey, I want you to try to sleep. And I laid down, y'all, and I slept for the first time. I'm not even kidding. I slept for the first time in 10 weeks, like really good sleep. And I woke up the next morning with this new perspective. Please hear me. He didn't change my circumstance. I was still sick for many weeks. In fact, I still have asthma and some conditions stemming from that. I still deal with it in some ways every day. I was sick for several more weeks, but what he did do is he changed my perspective. He showed me glimpses of his goodness in the land of the living, y'all. He showed me that I can be real with him, and that's okay. He wants me to be. He wants me to cry out. He is a God who meets tangible needs. I needed to feel his presence in that moment. And Susan, I think her name was Susan, did that for me. So listen, I know that there are some ladies out there listening today who maybe you need physical healing like I did. Maybe you need comfort. Maybe you just need to know you're not alone. Maybe you need an encouraging word. Sisters, it's out there. Look for it. He is doing his good in the land of the living. His hands and feet are working through the lives of others, God. Through the lives of others, he's touching and working and moving. And maybe you don't need that today. Maybe you're a sister who doesn't need that. Maybe you could be a Susan. I hope I get the chance one day to sit on the edge of someone else's moment and put my hand on that sister's back and say, I'm here to help you. There is goodness in the land of the living. So if that's not you today and you don't need that healing, then be the helper.